Hello and welcome to episode 8 with me, George, and Mr. Ben Sorrell beside me. Welcome to another week right in the middle of a jam-packed cricket season that, frankly, 2 months ago, we thought would never happen. Besides that, though, and we are positive, but it's not been a great week for Test match cricket. And last week's test, the second test between England and Pakistan, was mired by, frankly, awful weather. And it rained and rained and rained, until the cows came home. But, it was horrible seeing to have a very good test match at all. It was an absolute washout. So I want to know what you felt as a spectator on a bit of a damp squib, if you pardon the pun.
Yeah, it was disappointing after we've had a real good run of test matches so far. Obviously, rain happens, and there's not too much you can do about that. Rather than sort of like cover the grounds, I don't know what Hampshire can do. If we've got a few pennies to rub together.
We got one or two. I'm sure we can find a solution.
A massive gazebo over the Rose Bowl for the next game might help.
Well, it is actually funny you mentioned that because I remember growing up, I've heard this when it was originally the Rose Bowl before the Aegeus Bowl, Hampshire's ground. So we moved from Northlands Road, the county ground, in 2000, built the Rose Bowl, sort of the first ever modern day purpose-built cricket venue. And there was a wacky idea, I think it was in 2004, to build a retractable roof over the Rose Bowl and have it on like these cantilevers. And I'm not very good with engineering, but apparently it would be on like a pulley system and it would work until they found out it would cost £400 million. And that's in 2004 money. So yeah, unfortunately, we didn't quite build the most expensive roof in the world, but I'm not sure. In some Hampshire cricket-sized cock-up, I'm sure that wouldn't have worked anyway. So,
yeah, it would be expensive. But to be honest, we need good floodlights on it because more annoyingly, rather than the rain you can kind of sort of like account for, and we have to put up with in cricket. But yeah, bad light. They seem to be off more times than not for that light. And as we discussed offline, it's just sort of like a ball coming at you at 90 miles an hour, whatever the conditions, it's going to be dangerous. So there is that element of actually what constitutes good light for the casual cricket fan. They see T20s and day-night matches played, even day-night test now with a pink ball. So it's really frustrating. One of my biggest gripes though with the bad light is, I think, communication. They have a certain level on the light meter, which they have to go off for. But what is that? Nobody knows. So it does seem like it gets made up as they go along. What's your thoughts, George?
yeah, I totally agree with you. Bad light is the issue that is sticking in our minds right now. We've spoken a lot on this podcast, and one of the aims of this podcast is to sort of talk up cricket, and we will do it. Cricket, to some extent, does suffer from an image problem sometimes, and if we're about preserving this game and this incredible sport for future generations, I sit back and look at that last test match, times where we should have been out there playing, knowing the forecast of those 5 days, getting as much play as possible, and we weren't because of bad light. Does that, for whatever reason, for whatever good reason there is from the umpires, does that look good for the image of the game? No, all it does is set us back. Now, you make a very good point with the light meters. Yeah, we don't know what that figure is they're looking for. All I know is whenever it gets grey, it seems to go below the level of what they're expecting anyway. So they're coming off for literally overcast conditions half the time. What I don't understand is, okay, I get it. If you're a player, you want to play at every opportunity. So I know you're going to say, oh, it's fine, just let me play. And I know the umpire's job is for the safety of the players. They're not for the game. They're not there for winning or losing the game. They're there to preserve safety. So I do cut them slack. I do understand. But if, like in that situation where it was a little bit grey on day 2, and you've got Azhar Ali, the Pakistani captain, you've got Joe Root, the England captain, you've got the opposing batsman, all saying, we are happy, more than happy with the conditions, please let us play. What is the problem? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. And obviously, for the safety and players just wanting to play on, which is the reason why it came from off of the batsman, right, to it going into the umpires. And I think I back you when they say about give the umpires a bit of stick at the end, a bit of slack. At the end of the day, all they are doing is upkeeping the ICC code. It's not actually the umpires that are getting it wrong. It's actually, I think, the code written is wrong. If you look at it and talking about forecasts, I do think that needs to be a little bit of common sense come into it. Cricket gets played all over the world in very different conditions. And actually, if you look at everything which has gone on this year and getting test matches played under COVID conditions, well, actually, normally we would have been quite lucky with the weather. But if you this time of year, if you look at sort of like playing cricket into September, and even October into the county system now this year, bad light is going to be such a massive impact. Surely there needs to be, actually, it's late summer in England. This is not an absolutely baking hot 5-day test in Australia, where actually they've had a bit of overcast conditions on one evening. So therefore, maybe that light meter needs to be different depending on where and when the games are playing.
Exactly. I mean, I really cannot tell you an example of an Australian test match in Australia that went off a bad light, because they're a different country and a different climate. And I think bad light is an issue for England and English conditions and the uniqueness of English conditions. And there needs to be rules that are more specific to the country you're playing in, which cricket should be able to do, Ben, because cricket, out of any of the sports in the world, is a geographical sport in its nature, and wherever it's played in different conditions for different types of players and everything like that. So having a little bit of nuance and a bit of common sense in terms of bad light and weather and overhead conditions should just be part of the game. But then again, I'm a real badger with my cricket and love watching old videos. One of my favourite things to watch is that test match in Karachi, where England with Nasser Hussain did the draw in the dark. How can we go from 20 years ago, that being acceptable to do in India and Pakistan, but now it's just a typical grey, bad English summer's day and we come off? The two don't compute for me. If the players are happy, then I'm happy, right? And at the end of the day, yeah, there is risk, but you made a great point. There's risk at facing Jofra Archer in broad daylight. There's risk facing Mohamed Abbas with his wobble seam in broad daylight. So, there's not really a problem for me with that. We have to make the game playable. And this is the other thing I would say. Let's use the COVID bubble to our advantage. Let's try and innovate here. Why do we have 11 o'clock starts? To my mind, we have it when we have a paying public in those grounds, because especially at the Ageas Bowl, I love that ground so much, but it's an absolute nightmare to get to and commute to. So you have to allow that extra hour in the morning to get your fans there. Not the sharpest tool in the box all the time, but I don't think there are any fans in the Ageas Bowl or any other venue for that matter right now. So why don't we say 10 o'clock start? Let's just try it. Look, I know it's not as simple as that. I know there's dew and there's English conditions on the grass. I get all that, but let's just try a few things. We're on free-to-air television now with highlights. We've got to sell this game. Let's try and not be rigid. That's what kills cricket. The best thing is when cricket innovates, when we think about pink balls, playing under lights, T20, when we think about how we can make our game a little bit more white ball cricket, why can't we try and innovate test cricket, which is the most treasured and best part of the game?
Yeah, certainly. To be honest, it was a bit new for me when you said no fans at the Ageas Bowl. I didn't know there was any at any other time I've been down there, to be fair.
Oh,
But
here we go. Yeah.
it's always got to be a little bit of South Coast rivalry, especially with how everything else is going so bad this season.
Just look at the table, folks, and you'll see who's on top. Anyway, continue on, Ben.
But yeah, so yeah, it was a really frustrating second test, if it was even can be even included as a test. But obviously we've got the next one. Obviously the weather's not looking too great. Hopefully, to be honest, though, it will be hard to not have at least any more cricket than we had last game. That's, I think it's the least amount of overs we had in the game since 1984. We should be on for the last test. It should be all right. What do you think of selection? There's that. Yes, it's 1-0 in the series, so it could still end up 1-1 with Pakistan. Or so do we go full strength, really go out for the 2-0? Or do we give those fringe players who's been in that bubble an awful long time now and actually not got a game, Ollie Robinson, just pointing it out there, do we give them a game to actually just go, well, we can't lose the series? What do you think?
Right, probably going to disappoint you in my answer, especially considering that I have been bigging up this summer as being maybe trying some of the next generation. But with the way that the second test went, this series is so finely poised. This is the toughest test England have had for a while. We're already without Ben Stokes. I would like to play full strength, so I wouldn't pick Robinson, but this will cheer you up. He's got to test himself, but I would play Archer on this pitch. I think if it's going to be a green top or it's going to be, something for the bowlers, I say to Archer, go on and prove that you can do it. Because if he can't do it on that pitch, I start asking questions about him. So I think that I'd rather it be full strength, but there isn't really, in my mind, a full strength England side right now. I think everybody is some of the bowlers. So for me, yeah, it will be a strong side, but it will still be people having a chance and playing for their place. So yeah, that's how I would view it. I'd probably play Archer on that pitch. So no Robinson, but still something for the Sussex fans.
Yeah, I get that. I think Archer bowls best when he bowls 82, 83 for the majority of his balls, and then uses his fast bouncer as that real unsettling ball rather than just bowl fast. So actually, if it's a green top with overhead conditions, I do think that England's not seen that side of Jofra Archer yet, where actually he can bowl some great line and length and get wickets that way, like he done for Sussex. He wasn't steamrolling over everybody in the 4-day game for Sussex before going to play Test cricket. So I would like to see that. Obviously, I'd like to see Ollie Robinson give it a go. But what's frustrating to me is if he doesn't get picked, we've not had him for them 3 Bob Willis Trophy games, which has made a huge difference. And we go on to talk about that. But I do think we wouldn't be second bottom if it wasn't for the inclusion of our bowlers carrying in drinks in the Aegeus Bowl. I thought that would be better served with James Ince doing that, but never mind.
Yeah, well, he's not even playing for us, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But yes, no, I do get what you mean. I think the fact of the matter is, even if I thought they would play Robinson, they won't, because I think England are good at giving off atmosphere that they're very welcoming to new talent, but they're actually quite stubborn at heart sometimes, I think, and quite rigid with the selection. Yeah, that's a slight criticism. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it... Yeah, I think a lot of people... Ed Smith's not everyone's biggest fan, and that's probably his biggest criticism, is that he came in saying... And Ed Smith, by the way, for casual fans, is England national selector. So he's kind of like, in cricket terms, the England manager, because he picks the team and the coach coaches. But yeah, so he is quite rigid with his selection, even though he came in thinking he was going to be very open to new talent. I wouldn't say he's too open. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. either way, I just want it to be a result next week. Even if we lose, to draw against Pakistan, I know we had a dead rubber test in the middle of it, but they are a real good side, Ben, and they're a massive step up from what we faced at in the first series against the West Indies. They are a proper good side. So yeah, I think it's going to be a big test. Butler, for example, needs another 50 to cement his place, and little subplots like that. It's been an absolute contrast between the two different openers. Sibley actually outperforming Burns. So there's lots of little subplots going into that final test. So I'm excited if we can get some play.
Yes, and I'm going to go for actually, I think it's going to be an unchanged England 11 from the second test. I don't think Archer's going to get in there. I know definitely Ollie Robinson won't, unless there is some kind of dodgy food eaten by the England bowlers on Friday morning. Yeah, I really can't see us changing it. Wanting Curran's batting over Archer's without Stokes in the middle order. But actually, I think if we get a full game, I think England will win.
Yeah. I think in your case, let's hope the head chef for England is a Sussex fan, because he might be able to put something in the soup for them the night before. But no, I think, yeah, okay, I think England could win. But then again, this is, and I said this earlier, a few episodes ago, and I think it's actually been borne out in reality now, which is unlike any of my predictions. But this is the toughest attack we faced outside of Australia. You know, Mohammed Abbas really has impressed me by, especially in these post-COVID times where you can't use the shine of the ball and the sliver and stuff. Wobble seam really impresses me, and that consistent line of length and all their players, Shane Afridi, they're a real good test. If England win this series, they will come off thinking we actually earned that, and that'll be really good for English cricket.
Yeah, and yeah, I can't echo that enough. If this Pakistani bowling, but overall they are the hardest test that we've got out there. A lot harder than the West Indies, but it's a shame. I think it could have been a really great series if it wasn't for the weather. Hopefully the weather don't spoil the second test for us.
Yeah, I mean, maybe though that's where some of the more traditional guys in cricket will say, well, that's why you don't do 3-match series. That's why you maybe go for, 4, maybe 4 and then 5 for special occasions like the Ashes. But then again, it's the scheduling, isn't it? And to be honest, at the end of the day, I'm just happy Pakistan made the trip over and had the courage to do that, because that's a big thing. Pressing. Actually, after this, I'm going to be keeping an eye on Pakistan and see what they do in world cricket, because I actually think they're well on their way to becoming that sort of top 3 best in the world force again, like they were in the 90s. So there's lots of encouraging things as a more neutral bird's eye fan. If we take our England hats off for a second, actually cricket's in very good rude health in terms of play. So I'm really happy that we're getting this series on. Actually, just speaking announcement this week that the old enemy Australia is going to come and visit us for a one-day and T20 series in September. A lot of people thought that wouldn't happen. Your thoughts on that? Because last time we whitewashed them 5-0, but it was cracking cricket. So what do you think about that? That'd be nice to have them back over, won't it?
It certainly is a sour taste for me, because I had my England Australia ticket for the Ageas Bowl this year. So I got my refund though.
Really?
got my £70 back, which I can put onto a new bat or something to buy in. But yeah, it's great to have one-day cricket. It's going to be interesting to see what one-day cricket we can have in September conditions for international cricket. It'd be quite fun, especially with the separate one-day squad again, without any of our test players. I think we've got a few players. We've got a real good chance of breaking in. and just proving their worth. But there's always fun when you play in Australia, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. I think it will be great to see some of the old stalwarts, your Steve Smiths and all that back. But it's great to have that. It's for me, and I'm an all sports fan, but it's the best rivalry in sport, England Australia. Really is. You can't beat it for me. Whether that's Ashes cricket, which is extra special, or even one day cricket. Some of the battles we've had the last 2-3 years have been really good. So that will be a nice way to finish off the summer. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And Morgan captaining a side that is sort of half World Cup experience, half not. Australia will be pretty much full strength. So, well, let's hope it's more competitive than the 5-0 whitewash last year or 2 years ago, even though I loved whitewashing them for once and it wasn't the other way around. But have a full summer of cricket. I mean, in terms of county cricket as well, they've just announced finals day will be on the 5th of October. The 3rd of October to the end now, and I think that is brilliant. So let's try and weather dependently have as much cricket as possible. But knowing the English summer, we'll probably have a poor August and a cracking September and get them all muddled and wrong way round. So, yes, anything to keep the cricket going.
Yeah. And just touching on what was a really good week now on the Bob Willis Trophy, depending on who you follow. I think format's wrong, always disagree about it this year. To be honest, maybe we shouldn't have had any red ball cricket. I'm starting to think we missed 50 over. But actually, Pro 40 cricket would have been better, I think, this year. Given that we are the reigning champions at Sussex in Pro 40 cricket in England. Still, nobody's beaten us in Pro 40 cricket since we won it.
Well, I think all I will say, folks, is what a difference 2 weeks makes, because Mr. Benjamin Sorrell over here was smiling like a Cheshire cat a few weeks ago when Sussex beat us down at Hove. Well, how the tables have turned. The Hampshire resurrection is alive and kicking, mainly down to one Mr. James Fuller, who took the 19th hat-trick in Hampshire history on Tuesday and skittled Surrey for an improbable victory by an innings and 52 runs. So Hampshire are well on top, but the informed team is Essex, and we've got them next. Hampshire got them down at Arundel, our second home for the summer. Or as Ben calls it, the Sussex B team, given that we're playing in Sussex. That's going to be a real tough test. And if they beat us, they will win the group. But it's interesting, though, because what I like about the format, actually, although you could argue it's a bit unfair on one of the teams missing out, but you're trying to put 3 teams into a 2-team final. So the winner of each group, North, Midlands and South, only 2 of them go up based on both points. So killing it, for argument's sake, and I hope they're not, but they are come final match day, there's still something to play for, because who's ever leading North and Midlands group. So I quite like that element. But I think the cricket is slowly getting better. The pitches are getting actually a bit better as well. Not with all places, but with some. So great. Sounding like a broken record, but it's great to have it back. And finally, good to see Hampshire get back-to-back victories. How's Sussex doing? Off he goes.
No, to be honest though, if you think what I've really enjoyed about this week, even though the result obviously went a wrong day at the end of the last day, we've just played the team who's won the championship 2 of the last 3 years in Hove. We've only played Essex, I believe, 12 times since 2000, which is crazy in 4-day cricket. But we've gone head-to-head, toe-to-toe with what is an absolutely outstanding batting lineup. And actually, Sussex youngsters nearly grabbed a victory on the final day.
It was very close.
Which shows that actually this mythical gap between Division 1 elitists, they are the best level of cricket in this country, or bog standard Division 2, we can't get out Sussex. There's virtually no difference in the quality. And actually, on a different day, put Archer and Robinson, or even just Robinson, in that Sussex bowling attack, I think it would have been a Sussex victory last week. So, actually, yes, it's disappointing. And with 2 losses now, we're not looking at going to Lords for the final. But, hey-ho, I think we've learnt a lot already in just 3 games. And it's great to see the progress that Jason Gillespie is making with his Sussex team. And then have the terrible news of his departure, which we could all see coming, but to be honest, I had forgotten about, to South Australia to be at home with his family 12 months of the year, taking on his home state, probably his ideal dream job. So good luck to him. And I'd like to see who it is who takes over this young Sussex side. Because actually, I do think we could have a really good 2-3 years in county cricket and finally get back up to Division 1 in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say, and this doesn't come from me often praising Sussex, but considering they beat us and the way they played, and I was following it because the Hampshire game concluded at about 5:45, so there was a good hours left to play, and that Sussex-Essex game was the last one on, and it was really, Sussex gave it such a good go. They look like a Division 1 side, and they're playing like that, and that's great to see, because as much as you are our biggest rivals, I want the 7 teams to do well, and it's nice to see that happening. Also, I think the young talent is a massive thing that the Bob Willis Trophy is really utilised, not just as Sussex, but also of Hampshire. To think that we have commanded back-to-back victories with Liam Dawson and James Vince not even really he ruptured his Achilles a day into the Middlesex game, and James Vince hasn't played since the end of this season. So that gives me a lot of heart that youngsters are stepping up and taking those roles. Joe Weatherly has been playing really well as an opening batsman. Got 2 off 100 last game. It's really encouraging. And actually, we're going to discuss this later on in the cricket. But actually, I follow on Twitter the head cricket correspondent for the big crunch meeting at the ECB with all the county chairmen in October to completely restructure and rethink the way county cricket is going. And one of the things I'm hearing is that the board be given the green light to be the new format for the county championship next season in 2021. Now, it might not be the conference season, the conference system that we all crave, but do I think it's a step in the right direction and better than a 2-tiered county championship in cricket? Yeah, I most certainly do. And I think if that does happen, it shows the ECB are finally getting a little bit more receptive to what English cricket needs. And maybe that is the weird world of coronavirus actually being a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I do think that county cricket does need a shake-up. And I feel like actually everybody's been, well, we can't please anyone and everyone, therefore we're not going to change anything. It's been quite a long time now. I think it's been about 20 seasons since you've had this split structure, and then adding the T20. And actually, I think we've worked out that we can strip out a lot of what we've got, but keep a really competitive game. I, for one, I love just like in the car, just sort of like thinking about what different structures what could be, and like, oh, actually that's really good, and actually, oh, we could try this. I've not worked it out and perfected it in my head yet, and it is all in your head. I am going to get in the paper for a future episode, but I feel like a conference system and then a playoff kind of system after the conference rounds could actually leave us with a county championship final table at the end of the season, 1 to 18.
Yeah.
I think that's possible and achievable by having a weighted conference system and then splitting the teams, but rather than just having the final like we've got this year, picking the top two, working out what kind of we have like a second round and then some sort of like head-to-head playoff for actual positions at the end of the season. Again, it's only a fault and I've not mastered the fault at all. However, I love that having 18 counties able to win the trophy. And I do feel like there must be something in there what we need to keep, even though they've currently said at the moment they are looking at maintaining the two-tier structure. But there's that little bit of this Bob Willis Trophy. I love the fact that anyone can win it, apart from Sussex, because we blew up like always. We can't win when the pressure's on. But it was a great fault I loved it for the weeks that I thought we were going to be county champions.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think this is where sometimes cricket makes decisions which are baffling, because there are rumours in the press, we've got to be frank about it, that some counties might not survive coronavirus and there's still financial crisis that is impending businesses of all different types, not just sport. And that in that ECB meeting I talked about in October, there will be calls for some counties to go part-time. It would be an absolute of struggling, but are told that they still have to compete in a two-tier or Derbyshire. Counties, especially Derbyshire, played and shown that they can compete with the big boys in the Bob Willis Trophy, and they're told, you're struggling financially, we're not going to help you because you're just going to play in a two-tier system in Division 2 where you can't really win anything. That is doing this game in England a massive disservice. So there needs to be a shake-up. And I think now the Bob Willis Trophy, we are seeing a little bit of what the future can be like. And we all like it. We all love it. So hopefully, if we can, as a cricket community, give a bit of fan pressure to ECB and to the governing body of cricket, I think we might be on to a very good thing here.
Yeah, certainly. And it's just the amount of possibilities that this year has given us. Like we've always said, and said the whole way through all of our episodes now, we need to take the best out of COVID. And it's been a really shit year. We've got to be really honest. It's been really tough. Tough on the counties, tough on the status, but hopefully we can get a seed of a really good competition next year.
And I agree wholeheartedly with you on every single point. And I'm talking a good game on this, but then again, being the tribal cricket fan I am, when Hampshire inevitably get absolutely battered by Essex next weekend, I'll probably come on and say, nah, two-tiered county championship system's the way to go. So, pot kettle. But for now, I completely agree. Let's restructure cricket. Let's make cricket work because we love it. And let's make cricket work for everybody, because when cricket works and when cricket does well, we all do well.